Okay, in this lesson, we're going to look at how to solve systems of equations using the elimination method. Please write down your essential question and get your notebook set up. How do we use elimination to solve a system? So the first thing I want to tell you is our goal when we use elimination. And our goal is to eliminate a variable. Eliminate one of the variables by either adding or subtracting. So we're basically going to be adding or subtracting our equations together so that one of the variables cancels out. Now the first problem I want you to write down, and if you want to write it down, pause the video after I write it, and then start it back up to make sure you have it written down. Okay. Here is a system of equations. Okay. Now, if I'm going to eliminate or cancel out one of the variables, the first thing that needs to happen is that we need coefficients to be the same. We need coefficients to be the same. Now, when I say the same, they can both be positive or both be negative, or we could have one positive and one negative. If we look at the example I gave right here, the coefficient on this x is 1. The coefficient on this x is -2. Those aren't the same. If we add or subtract those x's together, they're not going to cancel out. But if you look at your y's, we have 1y and 1y. So if we want to cancel those out, if we want to make them 0, all we're going to have to do is subtract. So it's almost like setting up an addition or subtraction problem. And so we're going to subtract these equations together. Subtraction is a little tricky. We're going to talk about in the future that if we can avoid subtraction, we're probably going to be better off. So this is going to be 1x minus -2x. And if you need to come to the side to work that out to make sure you get it right, because again, a lot of times we mess up on subtraction. 1 minus -2 is 3x. Notice your y's are going to cancel out because y minus y is 0, equals 1 minus 4, which is -3. So notice our y's went away. And now we have this really simple equation that we can solve. We know we divide by 3, and we get x equals -1. Now we know we're not done. We know that after we solve for one of the variables, now we need to plug the number back in to either, whichever your choice is, either equation. And it doesn't matter which one, like in substitution. So we're going to plug this back in, the other way, to either equation. So this one looks the easiest to me. So I'm going to say -1 plus y equals 1. And we know that we add 1 to both sides and we get 2. So our solution is -1, 2. The elimination method is by far my favorite. I think it's the easiest to do. Okay, let's look at another one. Our next problem is, that marker doesn't work. 3x minus y equals 30 and -3x plus 7y equals 6. Okay, so what I want you to notice here is that our y's definitely do not have the same coefficient, but our x's do. One is a +3 and one is a -3. So what would I have to do to make these 0? Would I add them or would I subtract them? Well, if I subtract, it's not going to cancel out. I'm going to end up changing it to a plus. So when their signs are different like this, we need to add, because 3 plus -3 is 0. That's our goal. That eliminates the x. Okay, so on the y's, we have -1 plus 7, which is +6y. And then we have 30 plus 6, which is 36. Look how easy that is. Divide by 6, and we get y equals 6. So now remember, we have to pick either equation. It doesn't matter which one. I just try to look to see which one is friendlier and less complicated. I think I'm going to pick the first one again. So 3x minus 6 equals 30. Add 6 to both sides. 3x equals 36. Divide by 3, x equals 12. So we get the solution 12, 6. Okay, pretty easy. Okay, let's try one more. The next one is negative 3x minus 5y equals negative 7. And negative 4x plus 5y equals 14. Okay, if you're feeling brave, pause the video and see if you can solve this yourself, and then restart it and see if you got the answer correct. Okay, so again, my x's, they don't have the same number, not the same sign, opposite signs. That's not going to work. Right here, I've got negative 5 and positive 5, so that works. I'm going to add to make those 0, because I just want you to see negative 5 plus 5 is 0. If we had subtracted, we would end up getting negative 10, so we don't want to subtract. So negative 3x plus negative 4x is negative 7x. My y's cancel out. Negative 7 plus 14 is positive 7. If I divide both sides by negative 7, we get negative 1. Okay, so now remember you've got to pick one of the equations, either one. Since I've picked the first one every time, I'm going to pick the second one this time. So we're going to say negative 4 times negative 1 plus 5y equals 14. That's positive 4. And then we subtract 4. And we get y equals 2. So our solution is negative 1, 2. Ta-da!